Warriors hit a franchise record 27 threes tonight against Oklahoma City. That's 2 off the NBA record that Milwaukee set a couple years ago. So the Warriors had a 3-ball rolling. And Draymond Green, as you said, Jennifer, when he's letting it go and then he's barking here, he's starting to play the best basketball of the season.
No doubt. And he's already got the hard part of the game down. I mean, to play defense the way he does, to get the kind of assist, to pass the ball, to rebound. This part is it's just part of the game, and just let it flow. And it's going to improve the team, I think, exponentially.
And Darrell, you talk about playing the right way. You coach kids, you coach your son, you coach the AAU team. Draymond in that post-game interview said, look, these kids are sponges. They're watching everything you do. And Draymond Green, for at least the last 15, 16 games, and for the most part all season, has played the right way. And kids could get a lot of advice and just learn from that, the passing, the shooting, the communicating, and the defensive intensity.
Yeah, everything you said is key. Communicating, defense, and being the communicator on the defense, being an anchor of defense. And you can depend on Draymond to be out there, the loudest man on the court, on the defensive end. And that's what you need. That's how I know where I need to be if I'm making a mistake. So I hope all the kids listen to that interview, and I hope all the kids understand Steph Curry is the best shooter in the world because he practiced and he started inside the key and worked his way outside.
No doubt.
And that's important to know.
Very
Exactly.
important.
You didn't come launching from,
right. Didn't start bombing from 30. You hear that, hometown favorites? Get in the key. I'm going to just drop 49 3/4. Let's go back down to Chase Center to Fitz and Bookie, who has Draymond Green standing by.
Well, Draymond Green had 15 points, 3 made threes, his usual 13 assists, and a phenomenal defense. And Draymond, we've said as great as Steph is offensively this year, you have the Warriors' top 5 defensive rating because of your defense. Steph's offensive year, your defensive year. How about that assessment?
I think, my focus coming into this season was try to control that side of the floor. I think I've been doing a pretty good job defensively. But why is he trying to pour water on me?
Sneaking up on you.
Oh, he going to Steph. Oh, yeah. Okay, I was about to say. But I mean that's my area, and I try to control that. But in saying that, Wiggs is an incredible defender. Bays is an incredible defender. Steph has been amazing defensively this year, and playing alongside a guy like Loon makes it a lot easier for sure.
And you talked about how winning is what motivates you, and that's definitely understandable, but you've been so good bringing the intensity every night and just embrace the role, as they get Steph, embrace the role of leading these young guys, directing them and leading traffic, execution. So how much is that part of your motivation, just leading these young guys playing the right way?
That's a huge part of the motivation, just to get better each and every time we step on the floor and, try to teach these guys how to play the right way. Obviously don't know how this year's going to end, get in the play-in the game or the play-in tournament and try to make a playoff push, but in saying that, we still need these young guys to continue to grow and looking forward even past this year. So, it's very important to lead them, and, I've taken that very serious, but Steph has also been incredible in that department as well.
Now, Draymond, we said you have to be first-team all-defense, otherwise they should get rid of the all-defensive team. Rudy Gobert comes in Monday. Gobert's an amazing defender, but you can guard any player in the league, from Dame Lillard to Joel Embiid. Isn't that really the best defensive player who can guard everyone?
You said it, not me. You said it, not me.
That's it, man. I'm enjoying you when you make threes, because when you make threes, you let everybody hear about it. So how much fun is it for you knocking down threes and telling them, come on out here, or whatever you say to them?
It's always fun. I've always been the guy who talks when I play. Growing up in Saginaw, that's just a way of life. If you don't talk on the court, you get ran off the floor. So, that's always fun for me. Obviously, once I get a few threes to drop, that's good for everybody. It opens up the floor for us even more. And, then teams have to come up more, and I can get into everything else that I like to do.
Now, you don't have to go in this direction, but I'm going to throw it there. I think Daddy Draymond is as good as I've ever seen you. Is it having all the kids and just you're as settled and as dominant as I've ever seen? And this is the serene Daddy Draymond.
Well, I tell you what, having kids definitely puts everything to perspective. I think anyone who has kids, it forces you to grow, and understanding that they're here, they're watching these games, you want to make sure you're setting a good example. And so, whenever they're here, it's that added motivation to try to come out and not only play well, but handle yourself the right way as well. Because these kids, they're sponges and they watch everything. So just always try to keep that in mind. And when they're here or watching at home, just trying to keep it in mind and continue to grow.
One more thing. So you and Steph, the rapport you have is just palpable on the court, the nonverbal communication. And we always tell people you're such a huge part of Steph's success because with all of Steph's movement, it wouldn't work as well if he didn't have a Draymond. So tell me what that development has been like, just getting to the point where it's just so easy for you guys to work the way you do non-verbally on the court.
Oh, well, it's not easy. It's tough. And, that's 9 years. 9 years of a lot of games together in a lot of different situations, seeing a lot of different coverages. And, when you play with a guy like Steph, understanding when to get the hell out of the way and when to go screen, when to get him the ball is extremely important. So when I come into the game, that's always my number one focus is how to get him open, how to get him the ball in the spots that he likes the ball, how to relieve some of the pressure off of him. And like I said, when you're playing with a guy like that, you'd be a fool not to do everything you can to get him open. So I don't want to be a fool, so I do all I can to get him open, whether that's with a pass, whether it's with a screen, whatever it is, just trying to find him.
Hey, get in and celebrate with your teammates and put those kids to bed tonight.
Thank you.
Great game, bro.
All right, that is Daddy Draymond, who was spectacular tonight with 15 points, 13 assists, the 3 made threes. And how about that? I want to be an example for my kids watching.
Yes.
He has grown up before our very eyes. And that is, he can guard anyone in the league. And to me, that might be the best defender that we have seen in this game right now because he can do that. So the Warriors win it, bring on the Utah Jazz, and Draymond, the play-in game. Well, the Warriors are more than still alive and still holding down that A spot tonight.
All right, thanks to Fitzabuki, Draymond Green, as we look at some video here from his strong performance. And Darrell and Jennifer, we talk about it all the time. When he lets it go, the team flows so much better, and he let it go in that first half. And, of course, a double-double tonight, 15th of the season, 15 points, 13 rebounds.
Great night on the offensive end for Draymond, super efficient. But, knocking down those threes in the first half, that was big time. We got to see more and more of this leading into this play-in game and into the playoffs. I love when Draymond's aggressive.
I love it too, and I love in his interview that he admitted that when he can score like that, it opens up things for everybody else. And if he can think more that way, he has the ability to do this. Just have the confidence to take the attempts. That's what puts the most pressure on the other teams.
No doubt. He wants 24 in the first quarter. He had 27 in the first half. Then he exploded for 22 in the third quarter. Now, it's just ridiculous. I got a whole cue card here, Jennifer and Darrell, of just records he has. I mean, like the 10th 40-point game this season. He's got 48 in his career. You talk about the 4-time Curry has posted numbers like this season. 24 20-point quarters in the same game. That's the 4th time that's happened this season.
Wow.
And then 30, of course, you see the 30 points, at least 30 points in 19 of the last 21 games. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but just a special night for Stephen Curry.
Another special night, another game making 10-plus threes. And one thing I do regret, Bonte, is not making 10 threes in the game. I made 9, and I always think about that. But for this guy to do it as many times he did it, come on, man, it's crazy.
It's funny if you think about the beginning. Oh, here we go. Look at the water.
Baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, there we go.
Cool him off. I don't know if I want him cooled off. Don't throw the water on him. He's on fire right now. Just let the flame run high, Jennifer.
Let it go. But what's so crazy to me? If you think to the beginning of the season, if you guys remember, people were saying, oh, what is Steph's legacy going to be? And is he playing well enough? And all this stuff. I mean, it's just crazy to even think that now based on the way that he's playing.
He may be the best entertainer of all the sports. I'm talking basketball,
yes.
I'm talking baseball, football. You want to go to Europe and you want to go down to Argentina, Monty on the camera. He's the best entertainer in sports. And we look at the threes here, most games with at least 10 threes made in a game. I mean, he's lapping the field right now. This is a joke. 22 games, Darrell. It's a joke.
It's starting to get ridiculous, Monte.
It's starting to get what?
It's starting to get ridiculous, man. But just how he goes into the game, his preparation, we see the crazy shots and warm-ups, but this is the reason why. He comes out on the court and he does that. It translates to the game. So to see him go out there and make these crazy threes from half court and the logo, it's all his preparation.
Yeah, and when I see these shots, I just know that's hours and hours and hours of practice and repetition. And the reason that everyone can't do this is most people aren't willing to put that kind of time in. So his work ethic is second to none.
I mean, he was just experimenting there in the third quarter. Poor Thunder had no answer for him. Lou Dort, defensive stopper. You know, Fitz was talking about Lou Dort defending Harden in the bubble. Curry ain't Harden.
I think they were enjoying the show too, Bonte.
No doubt about that. As we look at the wall here, Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, what do they have in common? Well, they've had multiple scoring titles, multiple MVPs, and multiple championships. Well, Steph Curry is very close to joining this club right here. Kareem, Wilt, and MJ. Because Curry's on his way to another scoring title. We know he has 3 rings, and he has 2 MVPs. This is a crazy club right here.
Yeah, I think he's going to get the scoring title. I mean, especially if Beal is out. I think he would get it anyway. But, you know, given that, I think this is just kind of a no-brainer that he'll join this group. It's outstanding. Another
milestone. I would love to see him up there. And then one thing about Bradley Beal and what Steph Curry has to his advantage, if he does come back, he's on the West Coast. So he get to see everything Bradley Beal do.
Good point.
And he can match his energy.
4 home games left. All 7 o'clock starts basically until they play the Memphis Grizzlies, which is TBD. That is on May 16th. But we're going to hear from Steve Kerr on another epic night for Stephen Curry. 49 points, 11 three-pointers made, and the Warriors roll. Kerr coming up. You got the ice and chill. Yeah. Curry and Draymond got the ice and chill. Jennifer, you should have ice and chill.
Maybe during the next segment, I'll get the ice and chill.
All right, there you go. But we're going to talk about the 4-game stretch coming up here with Utah and Phoenix and New Orleans and Memphis. But Warriors taking care of business because Memphis' schedule is easier.
It is easier. And Memphis, I mean, this was a must-win for them tonight, and they did it. But this season is just really coming down to the wire. And it's interesting, you know, we're historically, aside from the year prior, we're used to them chasing championships, right? And now they're chasing a playoff run. And there's a lot of excitement around this because I think they've done as well as they could with what they've had this season. I think they never hung their heads when there were, you know, times were tough, and they've moved forward, Darrell.
Yeah, I thought these were 2 important games for the Warriors as well. Not only protecting home court, but going out there playing against a team that we know isn't, you know, playing for anything. A bunch of guys that's trying to play for their name and for their career. So for them to go out there and handle their business like they did these last 2 games was pretty impressive. So hopefully this rhythm they could take to the next game and the next 4 games and put that same energy into those games as well.
No doubt about that. Let's look at the scoreboard here before we hear from the head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr. Warriors roll to Chase Center, the second of a 6-game stretch at Chase Center. And the home cooking has served them well so far, blowing out the OKC Thunder in back-to-back games. But the competition gets a lot tougher coming up here with Utah visiting the Warriors on Monday night. Steph Curry again, that 49 points in 3 quarters. He has lit up OKC. We'll talk about that a little later as well. But let's get to the head coach, Steve Kerr.
Hi, Steve. Steph had 49 points in 29 minutes, and specifically with the way he started this game in the first quarter with 24 points. What did you think about the way he was declaring it's going to be one of those games?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's just always spectacular these days. And tonight he topped it. It was like really spectacular. I don't know how to describe it, but you know, when he got going there in the third, I think we had about 4,000 fans in the stands, and you could just hear every one of them, you know, in anticipation of the ball going into the hoop. It's just amazing. So the skill level is matched by his confidence level, and magical things happen. He's just an incredible player.
Would you like to see Steph? He had 11 threes tonight. I know fans might be clamoring for that moment where he gets the single game record. It would be 14 to tie Clay, 15. What do you think if Steph would get that record, and what do you think your role in that would be, Steve?
Sit back and enjoy the show. I'm sure he'll get it. It's just a matter of time, the way he shoots the ball and the way the game has evolved. And, we shot 54 threes tonight, and I didn't bat an eye. When I got here 7 years ago, I could not have imagined our team taking 54 threes, but everything's different now. And in an era where the three-point shot is king, Steph is the best one of them all, so he'll probably break that record sometime soon.
What's the challenge for you guys upcoming this week? I think Monday, Tuesday, you got the two best teams in the conference coming in.
Yeah, we're going to have to play a lot better. This was great to get a couple of home wins and build some momentum, but now we've got to really put it together against two great teams. So in a back-to-back. So very difficult circumstances with both teams fighting for playoff positioning. Excuse me. So, there's not going to be any letdown from either of those opponents, but it's good for us. We've got to be ready for the playoffs ourselves. So might as well, face a couple of great teams and sharpen up.
Draymond had 15 points in the first half, very efficient. I know you like to say that his scoring is not really an important part of what you guys do, but what does it change when he is scoring?
There's an energy level that the team feels, I think, when Draymond is knocking down shots and talking trash to his opponent to, tell him to come out and guard him and that kind of stuff. So, and it also opens up the floor when he's making threes like he was tonight. So I've been saying it for weeks now. Draymond is having a spectacular season. Obviously, if he's making threes, it's just kind of gravy because of everything else he already does. But it was fun to see him knocking down shots tonight.
Steve, James Hill with BNC Sports. You put 5 guys had double figures, and the bench really played well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's a game where, we got into a good groove, and obviously, OKC is, they got a lot of young guys and developmental players. They're trying to sort through, who's going to be there and, and going into next year. And so they were vulnerable for sure to some execution and as they go through the learning process. So I thought our guys did a good job of executing, particularly in the first half. And then, we got a little careless with the ball in the fourth quarter, but it was a good night for our bench to get some minutes and feel good about themselves.
This Sportsnet Central update is presented by Atlantis Casino Resort Spa Reno.
All right, let's check out Bradley Beal because he had himself a game. 50 points in an overtime win over the Indiana Pacers. He joins Steph Curry, Jason Tatum as the only players this season to have multiple 50-point games this season. But Bradley Beal did leave the game and did not return with a hamstring injury. So let's take a look at the NBA scoring leaders. The updated scoring leaders here at Steph Curry. He's trying to get up to 32, Jennifer Durrell. He's at 31.9. It helps to play OKC because in 3 games against OKC, Steph Curry has averaged 41.5 points per game against the Thunder and at least 9 made threes against the Oklahoma City Thunder. But this race looks like it's going to come down to...
If Beal stays in...
Hopefully he stays in.
It's going to come down to the wire. But I still think, Steph just edged up a little bit tonight. So he's just going to... I think he's going to continue possibly breaking away a little bit. But with Beal out, I think that will change everything.
This is definitely going to the wire, especially what Russell Westbrook is doing right now. Mm-hmm. I know Brad Beal wants to be right there with, in the history books of his own, being a leading scorer in the league. So it's definitely going to the wire. Hopefully Bradley Beal is, okay and gets back on the court quick. But it's going to be a show all the way to the end.
It is. And Russell Westbrook tied Oscar Robertson's record for all-time triple-doubles.
Wow.
But as you said, Darrell, Steph Curry playing on the West Coast gets to see what Bill does. Up next, we honor the first Filipino-American to play in the NBA, part of our month-long celebration of the AAPI heritage. Raymond Townsend. Get to know him.
Warriors Post-Game Live is brought to you by Adyen, the payments platform.
How can you dream something if it doesn't seem possible? How can you believe it if you've never seen it?
If we don't have dreams, then what are we as a people? It sends a message all over the world that, you know what, all things are possible.
Long before the bright lights of the NBA, Raymond Townsend was a kid from San Jose who had dreams of playing on the baseball diamond rather than the baseline.
I always wanted to be a Yankee. Man, I wanted to be a Yankee at 7 years old. Basketball, I was just gifted. I mean, God gave me a great sense of quickness, but it was always baseball. And basketball, I just happened to be a very gifted player.
But for as gifted as he was at basketball, Townsend had nobody quite like him to look up to in the game.
I always pretended when I played I was a black player. I know, because there were no Filipinos, you know, and there were no Asians. I was pretending I was JoJo White. I was pretending I was Casey Jones. I was pretending I was Pete Maravich. That's probably my idol, was Pete Maravich growing up. I never ever envisioned, you know, an Asian player because there weren't any.
That lack of diversity was present in the Bay Area as well.
You know, candidly, back when I was growing up, you didn't have the influx of the Asian population. So everything basically was black, Hispanic, and white. I mean, it's just the way it was, you know, and people didn't know what I was. A lot of people thought I was Mexican. Some people thought I was half black, half Mexican. Some people thought I was half black, half white. You know, nobody ever suspected or expected that I was Filipino. And there was a lot of prejudice, you know, back in that day as there is today. I mean, you know, there's not much different. It's just, you know, back then people were a little bit more polite about it. You know, Filipinos are too small. They're you know, not big enough. They're not quick enough. They'll never succeed in basketball. I heard that even after I was an MVP, you know, my junior and senior years.
Despite his many doubters, Raymond was a star on the hardwood and soon caught the eye of one of the greatest coaches in basketball history.
I got a call from Coach Wood and said he's going to come in and talk to me about attending UCLA. And so my mom, being Filipino, she makes, you know, some lumpia, some pancit, you know, she makes all this Filipino food. So Coach knocks and we're all running around, you know, in the house. You sit here. We already pre-planned this. When Coach Wood comes, you're sitting here. Coach is going to sit here. The minute I shook his hand, I mean, and you know, I just could tell with his presence, you know, with all the winning, that's the guy I wanted to play for. The minute I signed at UCLA, man, I heard a lot of negative press. You know, it's a school for superstars, and I'm only going to be there to sit on the bench and get my scholarship, but would never play. I heard that, and part of it was because I was Filipino.
And so Townsend was off to play for the most storied program in the nation. But his heritage remained a mystery to many who watched him compete.
My sophomore year, I had a big afro. So everybody in the whole nation thought I was black. And even if I were to tell you I was Filipino, I was black because it was a black game back in the 70s.
After 4 productive seasons with the Bruins, Townsend entered the 1978 NBA draft. As the first round neared its end, Raymond got a call from 2 very familiar franchises.
Coach Jerry West, at that time, was a GM for the LA Lakers. He called draft night and said, Raymond, you know, we had the first pick in the second round. We're going to keep you in LA. And I was really excited. 20 minutes after, Coach Adles calls me, you know, Raymond, this is Al Adles, Golden State. Just want to let you know we're going to take you we have the final pick in the first round. We're taking you. So we're bringing you home.
The Warriors selected Townsend with the 22nd overall pick, and in the process, made him the first Filipino player in NBA history. An achievement that went unnoticed at the time.
Nobody ever promoted anything like that. It was all black and white, so nobody ever touched. I mean, back in the 70s, you didn't hear about Hispanics, you didn't hear about Chinese, you didn't hear about Japanese, you didn't hear about Filipinos. You heard nothing but black and white players. Nobody ever mentioned any other, you know, ethnicity whatsoever. It was black or white. Even though, you know, you tell people, hey, I'm, you know, Filipino American, you know, people would be like, no, you're not. We saw you play, you're black. You know, look at your hair, you know.
Raymond retired from the NBA in 1982, but his true impact on the game wasn't recognized until more than 20 years later.
When the game was globalized, and I think the NBA had an idea that the game could be not just the United States being the best league, could be a world league someday. And they start globalizing and marketing the brands and the jerseys and everything all over the world. That's when heritage became important, and that's when somebody did their homework and just said, hey, you know, we had a Filipino. And that's when I think people started realizing that, you know what, this guy's been, you know, he's the one who carried the torch, and it did for 38 years.
As the league began to embrace its diverse culture, they looked for ways to celebrate their many ancestries.
They wanted to put together a Filipino Heritage Night, asked me if I'd like to be a part of it. I said, definitely, I'd like to be a part of it. So we sat down and